Okay, I've spoken with Nathaniel already. Guys, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. People will be joining. I have thought through to, first of all, welcome to MELS 601. This is week 2 of a very fast journey that you started last week. Have had some time to think about some things with the emails that I've gotten. I've talked with students. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently tonight, and I'm by myself. Dr. Lamb could not be with us, so there will be another session scheduled for Thursday night for those who can join. I will send out that information tomorrow, and he will address some things differently than what I addressed tonight. I'm going to ask you that this is first of all, last week I told you that you had to take off that teacher hat. You had to begin thinking like an administrator. And I still want you to think like an administrator, not like a teacher when you're responding to things. But at this point, I want you. You're my student, and I'm the teacher. So I'm going to treat you like my student right now. So I'm in the teacher mode, and I want you in the student mode. I want you to. These are going to be some ground rules. I'm not going to entertain any questions while during this session, and I have a reason for this. Sometimes we're so busy thinking about our questions or thinking about that we can't really hear what is being said. So I'm asking you, put all questions aside. There's going to be a time for that, and I'm going to tell you how to do that. All I want you to do this evening, I want you to listen, and I want you to follow. I want you to take notes. Make sure you have a place where you can take notes. I'm going to try to map out some things, and after tonight, I think that it's going to make things much easier. I got some emails from some people the weekend, and after I thought about it, I responded back with some step-by-steps, and actually Nathaniel's one of them. Nathaniel sent me back an email, and he said it helped a lot. So I thought through that even more. So I hope that what I do tonight is going to make things a lot easier. Probably by the end of the session, the question that you would have asked anyway, I hope will have been covered. If it's not, I'm going to give you an opportunity. I want you to email me because that gives me time to think about it and to respond back. And it really doesn't apply to everybody anyway, so we don't need to take up everybody's time with something that maybe only applies to you. So I'm going to give you that opportunity to email me, and I will respond back to you. So with that in mind, I want us to get started. Again, I told you needed to make sure that you had your materials with you so that you can refer to either your syllabus or your handbook as needed. But last week, when Dr. Lamb and I introduced this add-on program, we talked about the 6 evidences that you were going to be required to do over the next year or over the next 3 semesters. And I've thought about that a lot. I want you to put it in perspective as each of those 6 evidences as being a chapter in a book. And I want you to think about you're going to be the author and you're writing a book. And you're actually working on chapter 1 now. Chapter 1, and the book is about your school. It's about your school, and it's about your community. All 6 chapters are going to be about your school. So everybody's book is going to be different. It may have some of the same information in it, but everybody's story is going to be different. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's start with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is what we introduced last week, and that is the APSL, or the Analysis and Action Plan for Student Learning. Remember, we said in the school business that we need to begin with what matters most, and that's our product, our students. So we begin with the students. So chapter 1 of your book, your story about your school, is going to be about the students of your school, and that's what the APSL is all about. Okay. Again, remember we said we're going to have 6 chapters, chapter 1 being the APSL. Chapter 1 has 5 sections to that chapter. Now, I'm going to refer back to, I'm going to the syllabus now. And this is, you're going to have to be patient with me because Dr. Lamb normally maneuvers this while I am talking. So it's downloading. You're dealing with an old dog that is actually learning new tricks. That's what I'm doing now. So, okay. We're going to, okay, let me see. I'm going to go back to, okay, that's not it. Okay, that's not what I want. Again, okay, this is where it began, where we talked about the apsal and the description of it. And remember, we said that for every evidence that there would be 4 tasks or 5 tasks. This evidence task, the apsal actually has 5 tasks. You're working on task 1 of this evidence now. And for each task, we said that there would be a prompt or prompts. Normally, there's 1 prompt, but there may be 2 prompts with some of them. This particular one only has 1 prompt. Can you see this on your screen, what I've got? Okay. Okay. Let me look at my notes. Okay, now I want you to think about the terminology. What is a prompt? If I prompt you to do something, that means that I'm kind of urging you, I'm edging you on, I'm giving you some hints, I'm giving you some help. You know how you do, students? You'll go by and you'll prompt them. You'll say, now, if you'll do this, this is what you, especially in math, or, you know, look at that word in that, look at that little word in the big word. So that's really what a prompt is. A prompt is simply, it's telling you how to do the task. So with task 1, we're gonna look at that prompt again, and let's pretend that I may not have said this, or Dr. Lamb may not have said this, just for purposes, because you'll learn something the 3rd or 4th time going around with this. Okay, now I want you to go back, and I want to stay here, but I'm going to go back to the template that Dr. Lamb also provided, because I want to refer back to that template, because in fact Veronica asked me a question about it, and I will go back to that. But with this prompt, you see there's 3 things. You see the 3 things listed: the PLC research, the PLC selection, and the PLC meeting. Okay. You have to do this, and you have to use the template that Dr. Lamb has provided at the same time, because the template is going to help you fill in this information. But the template, he already has told you, really, this is just a repeat of what is in that template, and I'm going to go back and show you that in a few minutes. Okay, on that template, if you remember, there was a title page or a cover page, and I told you the only thing that you've got to do differently on that page is it says your name here. Everything else stays the same, and you simply write your name on it, and it's going to talk about the apsal, and you're going to use that for all, when you get ready to submit your apsal in 5 or 6 weeks, you're going to use that as the cover page for chapter 1 of your book. Okay, that's your title page. The next thing that you've got to do that's not on here, but it's listed in the template. Remember, we said the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to do your school profile. Okay, now think about this. If I ask you, if I said, okay, I'm going to use, okay, Patricia, you're with us. Okay, if I said, Patricia, I want you to write me, I want you to send me your profile about you. You're writing about yourself. You're going to tell Dr. Stedman about you. So when I tell you to write about, do a school profile, you're talking about your school. Now, I had 3 wonderful visits with student interns today. I actually was in South Carolina today and went to 3 different schools in Darlington County. And the first person I visited, and Candace is with us, was Candace Small at St. John's Elementary. Beautiful school, very historic. In a historic, I had not been in that area before, but there's a story to tell about her school. Her story is going to be different than somebody that built just a brand new school. There's not a whole lot to tell other than, you know, it's a state-of-the-art school, and that happened to be, well, I went to Pam's school. She works at the Dillon County Institute of Technology, and that's going to be a more, but her school story is going to be different than Candace's school story, because Candace's school story is going to have a lot of rich, old history there. I want her to tell about some of that in her school profile. Now, that's where her story is going to be different than Pam's story, or when I went to Lamar High School to visit Alphine, her story is going to be different than Pam's story, because every community and every school has its own personality. So I want you to talk about the personality, maybe when it was built, you know, some history behind your school. Then you're to look at the demographics of your school. What does your school look like? When it comes to the student population, what does your student population look like? What is the breakdown? What is the ethnic breakdown? What is the female male breakdown? What is the school population? Is it a large elementary school? Is it a K-5 or pre-K-5? Is it a K-8 school? You know, talk about what your school looks like. How many teachers are there? You may want to say X number of teachers are nationally board certified. Those statistics. You're going to talk about your school. Now, once you do this, once you do your school profile, you're going to use it over and over and over again, because every time you do a new evidence, you're going to need a school profile, and you're going to put it with the evidence. So once you do it this time, you're just going to copy and paste it, and you're going to use it every time over the next 3 semesters. And then when you get ready to submit each of these full evidences, task 1 through 5, when I tell you to put it all together in about 6 or 7 weeks, then you're going to use that profile one time with that, but you're going to need that profile when you do the APTEL the second half of the semester. Does that make sense? Okay, but you're telling about your school. You're introducing chapter 1, telling about your school, because this book is about your school and about your community. Okay, so we've got your title page. We've got the first thing that you're going to write about is your school, the school profile. The next thing that you're going to do is the PLC research. Okay, did you see these dark bold-faced letters right here? I want you to actually think about just putting, because you're going to, the prompt, you're going to put, write PLC research. You can put that as a header up there. And then underneath that, you begin writing APA style. You're going to do a mini research paper. And when I say mini, you're no different than my 5th or 6th graders when I taught elementary school or middle school. How many pages, Dr. Stedman? I've gotten that question. Or how many of this? How many? I'm not looking at. I want you to make sure that you have thoroughly covered the topic. If you can do it in 5 pages, fine. Some people can do it in 5 pages. Some people it takes 10 pages. I don't care, as long as you have thoroughly covered the topic. Now, when you do the PLC research, we're again, this is where, this is not about your school. This is what does the research say? What is out there about what a PLC is? What does a PLC look like? What are the best practices? what are the best practices for a good PLC in your school? And remember, we said the expert in this that we wanted you to make sure that everybody cited was Richard Dufour. So you make sure that out of the minimum of 5 references that you've got to do, that the main reference is going to be Richard Dufour, and then you find 4 other good ones, and you don't have to stop with 4 more. If you need 6 or you find 7, then by all means you include them in there. But this is considered a mini research paper, and you're to do it APA style. After, and again, this has nothing to do with your school. This is nothing but about research, okay? The next part, the PLC selection. Now, I know that you have already, or you should have already discussed with your site administrator, already what is it, what would you like for the PLC to be? What area would you like? I know you've already talked with them, but let's pretend that, and you're going to really bring that back to, because you've got to do what your principal wants you to do anyway. So with your PLC selection, you're going to find, and Dr. Lamb said 3 to 5 people. If you need to fudge on that, then I talked with a student today, and they gave me the rationale why they needed 7 or 8 people, and I bought it, and so if you need to do more, but the more people you have, the harder it is to get them together or control. So there's a rhyme and reason why you have 3, 4, 5 people, because you can manage it a lot better. But your PLC selection, these are the people that you're going to work with over the next 3 semesters. They're going to help you, because with the APSL that you're doing now, there will be an action plan. With the APTEL that you will do the second half of the semester, there will be an action plan. There are going to be several action plans, and this team is actually going to help you develop and present these action plans. So they're going to be a great assistance throughout this program. So make sure you get people that you can work with, people that are qualified, people that are not going to weight you down, people that are actually going to really help you in the process of things. So what you're going to do, you're going to document. How did you go about deciding who was going to be on your PLC team? Again, it could be that your administrator said, well, I want so-and-so on the team, and you can pick some, but I want so-and-so. Or you can present to the administrator and think, whatever your process is, what is your rhyme and reason why you have selected the team that you've selected, and you're to talk about the strengths of this team. Okay, one of the people I met with today, because of what they're going to implement with their PLC, she wanted the grade level chairpersons for each department. It was a high school, and it made sense, because what they're going to do, the principal is going to help make sure that it's implemented school-wide. So in a high school, who better else can help handle that than the department chair? So that made sense that she would use the department chairs for that. But she's also going to talk about each one of those department chairs. She's going to name them. Let's just say that Nathaniel was one of those department chairs in the social studies department. Well, then she's going to tell me the strengths of Nathaniel. I know all of you already have a master's degree. What is your master's degree in? What other expertise do you possess? Just some characteristics of you that make you a strong person on that team. And there, maybe you are a nationally board certified teacher as well. Maybe you, anything that will add to the strength of the candidate being on there. And that really that's all you have to do to that section once you've done that. So you go up here, your subtopic is PLC selection, then you're going to write about it. You're going to do a narrative, and you're going to list the names, and then you're going to talk about those people. The next thing that you do, okay, let's go back and review. You've got that title page, and all you got to do is put your name in that place. Then you've got your school profile. You're talking about your school. You're beginning the story about your school, the personality of your school. Then you're doing PLC research, and this is research, not about your school. What does the research say? With a minimum of 5 sources, and one of those sources has to be according to Richard DeFore. Then you've got your PLC selection, and I'm not going to go over that again because we just did that. Then the PLC meeting that should, if it has not occurred this week, you've got 2 more days. You need to make sure that that happens this week. You need to meet with the people that you have selected right there. You need to meet with those people. And when you meet with them, you prepare an agenda. It doesn't have to be an elaborate thing, but on that agenda, you tell them, why you're meeting with them. When you meet with them, you're going to lead this PLC in the meeting. You're going to talk with them about what your PLC is going to be. What is the vision and the purpose of what you and your principal have decided that you're going to do? They're going to help you carry out that vision and purpose. You're going to put it in narrative. You're going to talk about it here. You're going to talk about the norms for whatever upcoming meetings you've got. You're going to talk about maybe a set day that you're going to meet, a set time that you're going to meet, and that's subject to change. I realize that, but this is where you establish with the team you selected what you've asked them to help you do. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. After you get through with that, I want you. This is not on here, so I want you to write this down. Now let's go back up here to the PLC research. Remember, you said you had to do it APA style, which means that you're referencing things. So you've got to have a reference section somewhere. Am I right? Okay. Once you get through with this PLC meeting, at the end of this document, I want you to come up. You're going to do references. And you're going to do your reference section there, APA style, and anything that you have included in this first task that needs to be referenced, you're going to include it in that reference section. After the reference section, again, are you writing this down? There is going to be an appendix section. APA requires appendices. There's going to be an appendix section. Okay, Dr. Stedman, what will go in that appendix section? Okay, first of all, you can't just say, well, I ask my principal, can I do the PLC? You ask that principal, but I want it in writing. You are to email or put in writing the request to do the PLC, because that becomes an artifact. It becomes a living document. It becomes proof, evidence that you will use to submit as a part of task 1. And you will use it also when you get ready to prove with your competencies that you have communicated. You will use it again with that. So you make a written request that comes from you. That is an artifact. That becomes a part of the appendices. You're going to get a response back from your site administrator saying, yes, you know, it may be 1 sentence with their name on it, but that's all you need. That is an artifact. That becomes a part of the appendices. Something else that becomes a part of the appendices. If you did a PLC meeting, or when you do your PLC meeting, you're going to have an agenda, right? Right. You're going to have a sign in for people that have attended your meeting, right? Right. Those become artifacts as well. That's proof that you held your meeting, and that's proof that people attended your meeting. I'm going to tell you something else to do. You give somebody your phone and you say, okay, I want you to take a picture of me while I am presenting to you. Or you have you have another picture showing that there are actually people in the room with you. Those become artifacts as well. You're going to be able to attach those as documents that you are leading a PLC. Does all that make sense? Okay. And I know that's it to task one. That's it. Once you do that, you are through with task one. That is what I will be looking for when you submit to Blackboard by Sunday. Some have already done that, but some of you need to go back and work on it some more. It's a good start, but it's just, that's all it is a good start. When you submit Sunday to Blackboard for comments for the people to look at it, because that is for comments only, you still need to work towards as close to a finished product as possible. I'm going to look at it, and those that have submitted, I've already given comments back. I'm going to look at it. But your classmates, the people that are in your group, if you're in 02, the people in 02 will see yours. If you're in 04, the people in 04 will see yours. 08 will see yours, and 010 will see yours. Those people will have an opportunity to comment. And don't just say, nice job. I want you to look at it and be nice. If you see something that needs attention, be nice about it. We are going to be nice to everybody, and we're going to nicely help people with something or a suggestion. This all comes before you actually do your peer reviews next week. This is preempting the peer reviews that we will do, and I'm not even going to talk about them today. All I'm going to say is this preempts the peer reviews that we will talk about at another time. We'll talk about them probably Thursday night with Dr. Lamb. You're going to get comments back. When you get your comments back from your teammates, from your classmates, and from me, this is an opportunity to go back and to begin fixing things. Now remember, you can submit to Blackboard for comments. You can submit in there as many times as you want to. Once you correct it, and if you want me to specifically look at it, you put it in Blackboard for comments and just say, Dr. Stedman, I've worked on this. Will you look at it again and tell me what you think? That's all you've got to do. And I'm going to look at it pending no problems. I'm going to look at it when I get up in the morning time. That's the first thing, not the first thing I do. When you get my age, the first thing you do is you have to go to the bathroom first, then you come in here and you take care of things. I'm going to look at it early in the morning. I do another part-time job, but I look at things periodically throughout the day on a normal rule. Yesterday, I wrote a grant for 11 hours, so I did not have time to look at anything yesterday until I joined for the session last night. But as a normal rule, I will look at things a couple of times during the day. When I come in at nighttime, after I eat supper and I let my wife know that she still has a husband, then I will sit down after I take a shower and I will look at everything again, and whoever has submitted things, and I will look at it 3 or 4 times before I go to bed at nighttime. I do that especially around pivotal times when I know that you're submitting work and I know you're working. I kind of know when you're going to do things, because when a heavy load's coming in, because I know most of you are working during the day, and sometimes during your planning periods you do get a chance to do some things, but for the most part the biggest flux of things are going to come to me on the weekend, and I know that. But I look at it every day. So just know that. Okay, let me ask you this. Does what I said about task 1 of the episode, does all of that come together? Does it make sense? If it does, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay, now remember in the weekly update that I sent you on Sunday, and I will send something like that every Sunday, and what we'll do is look at exactly what is due for that night, or what you should have completed that week, and you will always get a review at what you have to do over the next week. And the reason I do that, sometimes when you're looking at the syllabus, it becomes too big for you. I just break it down and try to make it where that's all you have to look at, and sometimes it makes it more doable when you just see, I don't have to worry about all of that right now. This is all. So I'll continue to do that for you. Okay? Now, I do that in 601, but I will tell you, when this course is over with, we cut the umbilical cord, and we don't do all of this. So don't think that this is going to continue. We are helping you a lot this semester, but then we have to let go a little bit, and we have to let you learn to walk and to do some things on your own. That doesn't mean that we're not there, but we're not going to do all of this next semester for you. So learn while we're doing it. Now, in the weekly review, remember I told you that while you're working on task 1 of the episode, that you had to begin thinking about and working towards task 2 at the same time. Okay, have you looked at task 2 already and begun thinking about it? Just, if you have, those that I can see, shake your head up and down, thumbs up, or whatever. Okay, good. Okay, that's what I want us to look at right now. I want us just to take a glance at, and I've got to figure out how to, okay, there we go. Okay, good. Task, I want to talk about task 2 so that it all starts coming together. Task 1 is just one piece of the puzzle. Task 2 is going to be the second piece of the puzzle, and it's going to fit in to the puzzle piece for task 1. You don't have to force it in. It should easily fit in. And I say all that to say this. As you're writing your book, I want you to chapter by chapter, I want you to make sure that all of this flows. What you wrote in task 1 should flow easily into task 2. What you write in task 2 should flow into task 3. What you do in task 3 should flow into task 4. And when you get to task 5, which we'll talk about that later on, task 5 will be the proof of everything that you've done with 1 through 4. It should flow. Your book, your story should flow as you write it. So think about that. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have to do this. But one of the things that when I was teaching face-to-face classes, one of the things that I did was I required my students, it's not built in there, but I always ended with, like when I finished with task 1, to bring closure to task 1, you may go back and you may repeat something that you said in the beginning, but we always, I did a concluding paragraph, and I put, when I got at the end, I said, in conclusion. And that brought closure to task 1, and it allowed me to lead into task 2. So you may want to think about bringing closure to task 1 when you get to that point, with a closing remark and a lead-in statement that will lead into task 2, what you're going to be doing in task 2, and to help make that transition. Okay, what you are going to be doing in task 2 And you can read all of this stuff up here. I'm not going to read all of that. I want us to look at the instructions. It's important in narrative form. So that means you're going to continue writing your story, right? Narrative form. You're going to describe, you're going to tell about the data collection and presentation process central or important to your PLC's effort to identify the most pressing need that will later be the focus of an action plan to eliminate that need. Now, you and your principal have already decided whether it's going to be literacy, and if you're going to focus on literacy for the whole school, if you're going to look at literacy for your male population, if you're going to look at literacy as it relates to your African male population, if it's going to be math based on your ESL population, if it's going to be reading based on your special needs population, whatever it is, your principal, this is where you're going to start collecting your data and you're going to talk about it. There had to be something that you looked at to make that decision. That's where you're going to talk about it in task 2. You're going to talk about it and you're going to show it. You're going to write about it and you're going to actually show me what you're writing about. And you're going to use all this information when you get to task 3. Do you see now how it's starting to flow? Does it? Give me a thumbs up if you're beginning to see how this is starting to flow. Okay. Let's look at prompt 1. The candidate, that is you. And let me say this. In your writings, I have picked up on this. Don't go back and change it if it's in your narrative. Don't ever refer to I will do this or me or anything like that. You are always the candidate. The candidate will, or the candidate and the PLC committee will. You need to show a team effort as much as possible, but you never use the personal pronoun I. You always refer to yourself as the candidate throughout this entire process. The candidate will describe and evidence data. That means you're going to write about it and you're going to show data collection strategies and criteria in the process of identifying the most pressing need. Okay, let's talk about, let's just say, for instance, that it was the most pressing need at Nathaniel School is the principal said, okay, it's math. And it's specifically math for looking at the when you disaggregate the data, looking at the data, the 9th graders coming into the school, they're very weak. The whole 9th grade. So the focus is going to be on 9th grade math, whatever that is. Okay, so you're going to look at the test data. Now there are going to be at least three consecutive years of test data. Now, if you are a high school, that test data has got to come from the middle school that they came from, and you're going to look at grades 6, 7, and 8 test data. And it's out there. The report card data is out there. Okay, you're going to look at it, and based on the test data that came to your high school, it shows that we've got to do something with this 9th grade population of students in math. If not, our high school is in trouble. So we're going to target 9th grade math. I'm just using that for an example. But you're going to talk about how you came to that decision, how that decision was, how you arrived at that decision. Then you're going to actually show me. When you go to the report card, when you go to, you can copy and paste, but you're going to show the data. You're going to show everything else that you can in there. Charts, you're going to show graphs, anything that's going to show demographic information about the population that you are looking at that with this identified problem, this is where you're going to place all that information. The more information that you can show, the better you can understand what you're writing about. You know the old saying that a picture is worth a thousand words. The pictures, the graphs, that information is going to help show what you are talking about. Does that make sense? And somebody asked me earlier today in an email, they said, how many do we use? I'm not going to tell you that. You use what you need to use, but use enough that it's going to justify what you're talking about. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, as artifacts, when you are meeting with your PLC team, take pictures, let somebody video you. You can include, those are all artifacts that you can use to prove that you are leading, that you are a leader. That's very, very important in this process. It becomes an artifact. Okay, the second thing that you're going to do with task 2 is prompt number 2. This is where you're going to talk about it. Prompt 1 is where you're going to talk about it. Prompt 2 is where you're going to show it. I've already done all that, and you're going to show it based on when you show it. You've got to use APA formatting to show it. You can't just do it any old way. You have to use APA formatting, and there's lots of examples for that. And again, when you do that, I would take this section. I would have an introductory, a lead-in narrative, that goes back, ties into, and it can refer back to task 1 that you've done, because task one needs to, you introduce task 2 with a narrative that can refer back to task 1, and then you write about, again, you write about the problem area, how you come up with identifying the problem, all of the things that you do, and then you're going to show it. And then again, when you end that, you're going to have in conclusion. Now, in this, you don't see any research, do you? But you may have a reference section, because when you come down here to the charts and graphs, you may be actually pulling some things from if you're in North Carolina, from the DPI website, or from the South Carolina Department of Public Instruction website. So if you're pulling their information, then you must credit that. Even though you are not doing narrative research, you are still doing research. So credit whatever, again, it goes back to that APA formatting. You're going to credit down there. And again, after that, anything that you would have an appendix section if needed there. And again, with your charts and graphs, remember, with APA, there's only one table. They're called tables in APA. Table 1 is on a page by itself. Table 2 is on a page by itself. And you'll see all of that when you go to your APA formatting. Really, that, again, that's all. That's it for task 2. Now you say, I say that's all it is. I know it sounds like a lot to you, but honestly, once you get into it, and if you think about it in terms of what I have said, then it all becomes doable. I want you to, again, go back to the beginning. I want you to think about this as writing a story or writing a book about your school, and you're actually in chapter 1 right now. That's where you are, chapter 1. Let me ask you so far, does all of this make sense? If it does, give me a thumbs up. Okay. And I know that you've got to let a lot of this sink in, and that's what I want. Let me look at my notes. I've done all that. I've done all that. I've done all that. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that at this point. I'm giving you time to think about it, and you can email me with any questions that you may specifically have after you've had time to think about it. And again, I'm going to record. This is being recorded. I'm going to send you a copy of this, and I'm going to place it in week 2 for you to be able to go back and review as well. Dr. Lamb and I will know by Thursday if we need to make any adjustments to Zoom, and it won't affect everybody, but it probably will affect just a handful. We've had just not many, but we've had some people to drop out, and because of the bad weather, the inclement weather, they extended the drop ad time, so that has put us behind being able to do some things. So that's why we have left that alone, but we will adjust that as needed. Everybody will not get a message, but if it affects you, or if we're going to try to make sure no team will be completely, the only way a team will be dissolved is if there's only 2 people left in it, and if there's 2 people left in it, we're going to make every effort to put those 2 people, because they've already made connection with, we're not going to separate them. We're going to put them with a team that they can join in, so that those 2 people that's made a connection will still have that connection. So work with us with any adjustments that we need to make with that. I will tell you, check your Gardner Webb email every day. It's important. That's how I communicate with you. That's how Dr. Lamb's going to be communicating with you, through GWU email. We sent you the process that you can have your GWU email diverted to your preferred email, but I'm going to use your GWU email address at all times. Again, I know you're busy, but please, if I send you an email, because I'm dealing with almost 80 students between 4 classes, please make sure that you get me a response back as quickly as possible, so that I can move on to somebody else. That's very, very important. Or if Dr. Lamb does the same thing, and Dr. Hamilton, whenever he comes on board and he begins asking you to do things as well, it's very important. With your Zoom teams, please connect with them. If you have not connected with them, please connect with your Zoom teams, so that they know you are alive, and that you do know that you are a part of the team. I'm not going to talk about the required Zooming that will come up. We're not ready for that yet. I'll talk about that. Dr. Lamb and I will talk about that maybe Thursday night, but it may be next Tuesday before we get to that. I'll talk about that later on. It's important that you are pacing yourselves. You need to make sure that you make a plan, you write it down, but you've got to work that plan. You cannot procrastinate. You cannot put this stuff off to the last minute and think that you're going to get it done, because you will get behind. I think you're already seeing that it's important that this becomes almost a part of what you breathe every day. And it's going to be like that for a season in your life. And it won't be like that every day, but it's going to be like that, again, I told you, to begin with. But you will begin seeing where it will start easing a little bit, especially after about the 3rd week. You'll be able to look back, and you'll be able to relax a little bit more, and all of it will start coming together, and you won't have to spend as much time as you're having to spend. It won't be all of your time. We won't be doing 2 Zoom sessions a week. later on. There probably will come a time that I'll say, guys, I'm not going to meet with you this week. I'm going to give you time for your teams to get together this week. I can't do that yet. I can't let you go yet. I still got to keep my thumb on the pulse right now. So I'll kind of gauge when that time gets here, but we're not at that point yet. I hope that how I have presented things tonight has made it easier to understand. I spent a lot of time and thought into this, trying to make it as doable as possible. Again, feel comfortable to email me, and if after I read your email, if I think that we need to have a private conversation, then we'll set up a time that we can talk. If I need to Zoom with you privately, then we'll work out a time when I can do that as well, if that's what I need to do. We'll determine that later on. Again, and don't just do this because I'm asking you to do it. I just need it as a point of comfort. Has it helped tonight the way I've presented it? If it has made a difference, give me a thumbs up. If it's made things, thank you. I appreciate that. I thank all of you for joining. I'm going to sign off now so that I can go ahead and get a copy of this. Look for the invitation to join Dr. Lamb's meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock. I will send it sometime tomorrow. I'm not going to send it tonight because it'll get confused with what I'll be sending you later on. But thank you for joining. I really am enjoying working with all of you guys, and I think we're off to a good start. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.